Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Welcome back to the Voice of Reason, our 4th of July special. Happy birthday, America. We hope you have the opportunity to celebrate this great American nation with the ones you loved over this glorious weekend in America, now 249 years young. It reminded me of a 1982 special put on by none other than Robin Williams as he played the flag himself. And I was looking over different things over the course of this past week. I ran upon the Country Rebel production, just remembering Robin Williams playing the flag. And you can see this across different social media sites. I'll share it on mine as well because it's a hysterical routine back from the 1980s where Robin Williams took over the stage with his I Love Liberty comedy routine where he plays the American flag and goes through its history in a very comical manner. But at the same time, he exudes complete patriotism. And this is all part of a 2-hour television special that was created by Norman Lear and presented by People for the American Way. Throughout this 5-minute monologue, Robin Williams uses wordplay to clue in the audience as to the history of the American flag and the United States. While its comedic routine is certainly part of a comedic drive of this storytelling, it does make our chests swell with pride for our national patriotism. Two things that are not bad, nationalism and patriotism. They should be celebrated in this great country. To quote directly from Mr. Williams' monologue, but people haven't always been respectful to me, the flag. Sometimes it's been rough. There have been people trying to spit on me, trample me, burn me, foreigners, and occasionally some Americans too. I don't let it get me down because I'm not a stay-at-home kind of flag. And then put a smile on everyone's face, and you can hear throughout the auditorium, the stadium, just the pride that swelled up in people seeing Robin Williams perform literally as the American flag. Now, he even sheds lights on the lack of patriotism that was a real thing in 1982, and especially post the Vietnam conflict. To quote, "I haven't been getting out much lately. I guess it's not very chic to put out the flag anymore," he says, and he ends the routine on a high note that will always ring true. Hey, but don't look at it this way. Look at it as saluting me. Look at it as saluting yourselves. You know, I'm just a flag, a symbol. You're the people, we the people. And if I may say so from here, and he places his hand over his heart and salutes the audience and says, "Long may you wave." Special remembrance from 1982 and the production of I Love Liberty, presented by none other than the comedic icon, Robin Williams. May he rest in peace. Someone who always put a smile on our face. And I'm sure you'll have a smile on your face for today's show as we interview Kylie Jean Tannehill of The Kylie Jean Show. She's a cultural commentator and dives into the things that are most important in our lives, friends, family, church, the American way of life. And she showcases why in these trying times, you can have so much optimism, not only turning to God, but turning to the foundational principles of this great nation. And we're privileged to have her here on the Voice of Reason to talk about all of those good things in the American way of life. Joining us to celebrate everything America and the 4th of July, Kylie Jean Tannehill, the host of The Kylie Jean Show, a cultural commentator. Welcome to the Voice of Reason. Tell us why you love America and why the 4th of July, our birthday, is so special to you and yours.
Oh, Bobby. Well, you know I bleed red, white, and blue. So there is no holiday. I mean, maybe Christmas, but 4th of July has to be one of my most favorite holidays to celebrate because one, I didn't get to choose where I was born. So I'm so incredibly grateful that I was born in the United States of America. I love this country so much. There's no place like it. And especially when I get to travel and be overseas. I was just in Europe not that long ago, and there's some really beautiful things there, especially with history. But there is nothing that like gives us the freedoms that we have here in the United States, even the freedom to have this kind of conversation. So I cannot wait for the 4th of July that's coming up. I have a lot of family tradition, and I will paint my face red, white, and blue and wear my heart on my sleeve. So I'm here for it.
Well, share with us some of that family tradition, because a lot of us do the barbecues, the fireworks. We might go out and go golfing, but do we really gather around and remember, say, people like Francis Scott Key or even our founders? How about Betsy Ross with the original American flag? How often should we reflect upon the greatness of this birthday? And although we're such a young nation, imagine the world without the United States of America. It'd be a much different place.
It really would. There's a different type of blessing on the United States. And when you come into America, and whether you're born here or you legally become a citizen here, there's a different level of grit, tenacity, the spirit of being a pioneer that's on the inside of you. And that's really what's special about the United States. And you even brought up a great point. What would the world look like without the United States? It would look quite different, because with America operating in the fullness of her purpose, then it opens the gates for other nations to be operating in their purpose as well. So it's really incredible. As far as tradition, I actually have a photo of me in, I believe, second grade dressed as Betsy Ross authentically. So I will have to send that your way sometime for sure. I always have loved celebrating those historical figures that have been pivotal in crafting really the values of the United States. And it is very important. That's why history is such an incredible thing, because you highlight the greatness that has formulated who we are, but then you also have to look at the areas that were our downfalls, because if we erase history, then we're only going to repeat it. So there is an extreme significance in being able to honor our history, honor where we came from, and the vision of where we are moving forward. I don't know if you want me to get into my traditions for the 4th of July. It's pretty vast. It's amazing. I celebrate every year the 4th of July on Bainbridge Island, Washington, which is where my family has a ton of personal history. I would be 6th generation over here in the Seattle area. And we do take pride in our nation, which is a little bit more rare for the city of Seattle. But on the island, we have some beautiful traditions. It starts with really early in the morning. We do a flag raising at this clubhouse that is over 100 years old. It's absolutely beautiful. And we have somebody who gives us a historical remembrance. So we go through our history as a nation, as well as what's in the heart and the value system of where we are moving forward. We sing the national anthem, and then we pray. Then we go over and we do a whole morning of coffee, donuts, and there's a couple hundred people that are participating in this. Traditional games like potato sack races, the egg toss, the tug of war, just like the fun Americana, things that have been lost in the purity of simplicity. We do a big pickleball tournament, tennis tournament. Fun fact, Bainbridge Island is actually where pickleball was originated. So the second oldest pickleball court is right over here across from my grandparents' home. So that's really fun. To a full day of golfing. This is the oldest golf course west of the Mississippi. So it's a very beautiful, fun tradition that happens here. Families get together. It's very social, and a mass firework display that just has people from all over coming around, that is put on by my uncle. So it's a big family tradition. There's more fun details, but for the sake of time, people can check out my Instagram story on the 4th of July. I'm sure it'll be bopping.
And let me tell you, folks, be sure to do that, because it is so much fun. I hope that I might get an invite one of these days, because
Anytime, Bobby.
like Kylie Jean, everyone knows here, I'm a history buff, and I love that you said purity in the simplicity, or the simplicity in the purity. Yeah. I love that concept and that idea, and prayer in this country, and how that shaped the history of this great nation. How important is that to reflect not only upon our history, but also to ask for God's divine providence in our mission ahead, because we were really born for such a time as this.
Oh, we're so purposed for this time. It's not an accident that any of us are here at this moment in history. It's because we have this incredible opportunity to partner with the purpose and the destiny on our life. I don't have to go through life laissez-faire. I get to choose. Am I going to be active in the call of God on my life? And we get to be like that as a nation. That life is so much greater when we recognize, one, I have a piece to enter into this world and to flow out of the purpose and destiny that the Lord has for me. But our nation has a purpose and destiny in that. And we get to participate in that as citizens. So prayer is pivotal. And prayer is actually one of the most exciting things. The Bible is really, really clear on earth as it is in heaven. So I'm not going to operate and I'm not going to say these prayers that is, Lord, if it's your will, I hope that you do this. I'm going to say, no, Lord, I thank you that our nation, the United States of America, is purposed and destined for such a time as this. Father, I thank you for every moment that you led our founding fathers to come to this land to establish something that is going to be multi-generational in its leadership and its values, that you've cultivated a physical place for people to come and let their dreams come alive, where they have the freedom to dream bigger than they ever have before, where they're able to make things happen that affect their generational line and the greater good of this nation. So it's coming into agreement with what the Lord has already established in the frequencies of heaven, and we're coming into agreement with it here on earth with the authority and the purpose and the power of our prayers. So really the best, most active place that you can be is in your prayer realm.
It's such a beautiful message and a great reminder, because sometimes we forget in the busyness of life just to turn to the Lord, get on our knees and ask for his blessings upon not only us, but our family members as well. So if there's someone out there searching, and a lot of our viewers, great Bible-believing Christians and followers, but we've expanded, and sometimes there might be someone who is searching for that Bible-based church or that mission or message, what would Kylie Jean Tannehill's cultural commentator perspective encourage them to do in order to reverse those generational curses or get away from things that may have them bogged down, and then again turn to the Lord?
Oh yeah, that's the most beautiful place to be at. I just want to encourage every single viewer. One of my favorite scripture verses is John 10:10. It says, "The enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come to give you life, and life more abundantly." Every single one of us has moments where we've experienced loss, we've experienced pain points, frustration, the pain of disappointment, the death to a dream, tragedy within our family or our personal lives. That happens here in this earth, but the Lord gave us a promise that he has come to give us life and life more abundantly. And when we stop and we position our heart and we just ask Jesus to encounter us right here, right now, he's actually not limited to the space of the four walls of a church, that he is so much greater that he encounters us in a personal space, no matter where we are. And he waits for that invitation. So I just encourage every single person, if you're in a place where you are seeking truth, the ultimate truth is Jesus Christ. And he is so primed to meet you exactly where you're at, that he intimately knows you, but not only does he know you, he loves you, and he gets excited about who you are, because the Bible's clear. He created you in his image, and that he hasn't done anything haphazardly. He's done everything purposefully and with a ton of joy and excitement. So when your name comes up in the throne room of heaven, he likes you. There's an excitement that comes about you in your family line, and that's the best part. Life and life more abundantly means that he's affecting the generations that comes from you. So it's the most exciting time just to quiet yourself down. Ask Jesus to meet you where you're at. It's going to be so personal. I can't even tell you what that looks like. Bobby can't tell you what that looks like, but Jesus knows exactly how to encounter you, and it doesn't have to be in the limitation of a church building. So it is the most fun, exciting part in history, because we don't have to live to the chaos of the world. I know, Bobby, you would know this. We don't have to operate out of the narrative that we're hearing in modern day media, that we see on social media, but we have the peace that surpasses all understanding, and we get to live life with discernment. We get to live life with adventure, that we have a different level of wisdom we have access to when we choose to tap into the heart of heaven through Jesus Christ.
Amen. Kylie Jean, yes, that is such a wonderful message for this 4th of July. And where can we find your great show? What's on the horizon? And what are some of the topics that you're tackling as that cultural commentator?
Well, really, freedom is the ultimate conversation, right? Which is exactly what we are celebrating here on the 4th of July, is that Jesus, the very thought of freedom literally came from the heart of the Lord. That's why Jesus came here and he put his life on the line. He put himself on the cross in place of us, is so that we could live a life in the fullness of who he created us to be. And it unlocks us as a nation. It gives us a different level of leadership, of opportunity, of availability to be able to create this life that merits a different freedom than if we were in other nations. So as a cultural commentator, the exciting part that I get to do is I get to come in with whatever is happening in the modern day news of today. And I get to step back and say, hey, it's really easy to look at things from a very, very close perspective. But when you're living from a higher dimension in which we've been given the opportunity to look at things through this heavenly lens, all of a sudden you're not drawn into the chaos of this world. You're not giving yourself to anxiety, worry, or fear in a way that's very easy to operate out of. But we've been given an opportunity to live from a higher perspective in every realm of life. And so we can step back and we can recognize, oh, I don't actually have to conform to culture. I get to shape culture. I get to shape the culture of my family. I get to shape the culture of my business. I get to shape the culture in which I choose to be able to align my words, my thought patterns, how much that my words and my thoughts affects the way that I live my life, lead my life, encounter my friends and my family. So a lot of the conversations on the Kylie Jean show, they're coming from the different guests that I have on. It's me, it's my producer, Kelsey, and we're able to have these conversations of people who are in really cool, diverse fields of life. We have people who are come from all different types of industries, and they're sharing from their personal life and their personal stories, but we're encountering different keys that have helped made them successful to unlock freedom in their life, to unlock freedom in their workplace, in their personal value system. So join us on the Kylie Jean show because we love to have those conversations. I love the feedback that I get from my different viewers, which you can find us on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, Kylie Jean Tannehill, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere where there are podcasts, the Kylie Jean show is there.
And I make sure to share as much as I can on my platforms, all of your great work, because even when
you're the best. I appreciate every repost. Thank you.
Oh, I love it so much. I mean, it's so, you're cheery, your smile, that deep message in carrying your cross. And sometimes as Christians, we do forget that. But with your hopeful message, as John Paul II, that culture warrior from way back when, wasn't too long ago, but you look back in modern history, as he said, we are the Easter people. Alleluia is our song. And something just to be reminded of as we go into this new golden era of America. And these last few years, let's look back to those COVID times, which there was a lot of fear, a lot of hopelessness that came out of that. At the same time, I could say the people I've met in 5 years, I can't believe the people that God has placed at my door and vice versa. So how do we look now compared to a time where it almost replicated the 1960s? You saw statues coming down, you saw lawlessness, you saw a turn to almost a complete reliance upon government, but now we see sports teams, they're all kneeling in prayer together. We see people a lot more open and dialoguing about Jesus Christ, who he was, true God and true man. Do you think we're going through somewhat of a revival in this great nation of ours?
You know, I would say that 2020 revealed a lot that was in the root system that was necessary for it to be shown in a very blatant way. That really it created and cultivated an atmosphere where things that have been in operation in the dark all of a sudden didn't even have the covering of being able to be in secret. It had to come into the light. And so because of that, it forced people to make a decision. We got to see a lot of cognitive dissonance, but then we also got to see a lot of people step up to the plate and recognize they're not going to conform to what is being told the way that we had to live. We're going to think for ourselves. We're going to be able to see that there's some things that aren't really sitting with us as Americans, as people who live with biblical values. So how am I going to be able to navigate that? Well, the blessing is that when you're in hard times, when you're in dark times, the light shines the brightest of day, and it activated a different level of light inside of people. All of a sudden, people who were kind of going with the way of culture, they recognize that they don't want to be tossed to the right and to the left. So they're going to stand firm on a foundation, and they're going to have a backbone in the middle of that. So that is why you have people who are very, very strong about their faith. They're not going to be taking a knee during the national anthem. They're going to be standing firm. They're going to be verbalizing and letting their life showcase the value system in which they had. So to me, we have a ton of hope to look forward to because the pendulum swings. It provided an opportunity for people to make a decision where otherwise we had kind of gotten away with coasting in a lot of areas. So there's a righteous right to every realm of darkness. And I think that 2020 provided a necessity for us to see in every circle of influence, government, church, the workplace, people's home, local government, any area where we had probably gained a lot of comfort, we got to see what was really activated behind the scenes.
Kylie Jean Tannehill, you're always welcome back to the Voice of Reason. It's beautiful to see the Holy Spirit really flow through you on a daily basis with all of your encouragement, your great interviews. So I highly recommend everyone go out and see the Kylie Jean show. I'm telling you, it will turn a bad day into a good day. The worst of days, in fact,
well,
into
that's the best compliment. Thanks, Bobby.
Well, it's very
that
true.
Is awesome.
You have a happy 4th of July. God bless you. And please say hi to your wonderful family for me, and look forward to seeing you again on The Voice of Reason.
Thank you, Bobby. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you to Kylie Jean Tannehill of The Kylie Jean Show for joining us on The Voice of Reason. The winners this week on The Voice of Reason has to be the Founding Fathers, who 249 years ago had a vision for this great nation, this constitutional republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as that gentleman asked Mr. Benjamin Franklin, when that Constitutional Convention adjourned, Mr. Franklin, what kind of government did you grant us? And he responded, sir, a constitutional republic, if you can keep it. And now, nearly 250 years later, we are tasked with that mission. We were born for such a time as this. And those winners 249 years ago led to the winners of today, including this week, the Supreme Court of the United States, adhering to the original context of the Constitution to combat these injunctions against the current administration, and literally standing by not only the Federalist Papers, but Article 1, 2, and 3 of this great American Constitution. Thank you to our founders. Thank you to our Supreme Court of the United States. You are the winners this week. Now the losers this week. Sadly, you really aren't losers on a daily basis, but you have lost because of the actions of Congress and a certain United States parliamentarian. But it's those who believe in the contextual construct of our founding and our Bill of Rights, those Second Amendment lovers. And we here on The Voice of Reason love you. We stand with you. The Second Amendment being so crucial to your freedom. Now let's read it literally for what it says. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And as of this recording of The Voice of Reason, the big, beautiful bill has passed the United States Senate with its amendments. It now goes back to the United States House to be deliberated, voted on, and ultimately perhaps signed by the President of the United States. But breaking, Representative Andrew Clyde of the 9th District of Georgia stated, I just introduced an amendment to the Senate-passed budget reconciliation bill to remove the NFA registration requirement for suppressors, SBRs, SBSs, and AOWs. I'm fighting to the very end to get as many 2A wins in the big, beautiful bill as possible. Thank you to Representative Andrew Clyde and to those congressmen who believe in the letter of the law. So the losers this week, those who believe in the Constitution because of what has happened in the construct of this bill, but perhaps next week, when this is ultimately passed and signed by the President of the United States, will all be winners, having defended the Constitution of the United States. Thank you to Representative Clyde for standing on principle. And I would like to remind President Trump, we're big fans of what he has done here at the Voice of Reason, but he also ran on defending Second Amendment principles, and we will hold him and everyone else to that right here on the Voice of Reason. We hope that you enjoy the 4th of July with you and yours. We hope that it's a star-spangled bash take some time, go to church, see family and friends, enjoy those fireworks, and make sure you grill the most delicious hot dogs, Italian sausages, maybe some Polish sausages, and those charbroiled burgers, among other items and options, as you enjoy the freedoms that more often than not we take for granted in this great country. But pause and remember, the movement that is fighting back on a daily basis in this golden era, you were made for such a time as this. You were made to honor these time-tested principles of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. And we here at the Voice of Reason will always stand to defend it with you. I'm Robert McNeily. Stay tuned and join us next week on the Voice of Reason for all of the interesting topics we'll dive into, cutting into the culture, politics, sports and music, and many more other items. Happy 4th of July. God bless America, and happy birthday to the United States of America. See you next week.